nearly there. I'll go over the mission one more time. Your objective is to eliminate all forces occupying the city. The targets are battle MTs. Complete the mission, and you'll be registered as a Raven. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Don't blow it.
Hello everyone, welcome to our next entry of Armored Core August. This is Core, and today we're covering Armored Core 3, a fresh start for the series, taking it back to its roots. But before we begin, I'd like to once again thank HaloOwl for his lovely artwork. I'd like to ask y'all to support both him and my content, however you desire. Now let's dive right into the story and development, shall we? Released back in 2002, Armored Core 3 is a reboot of the series and a return to form which many fans definitely enjoyed. We're back in the subterranean era of the PS1 games, but with some changes. Society now exists in Laird, a controlled and planned society operated by the controller, an overseeing AI, which makes the choices and actions it deems necessary for all of humanity's existence. Once again, you can choose to support different corporations, which will cause them to reward you for your loyalty, and these choices will determine which story paths you unlock, as well as resources you acquire. Certain companies support the controller far more than others, and taking a cue from another age, there's even an independent faction who believes the controller is breaking down and making erratic decisions. Who's right? Who's just using the situation to gain power for themselves? Well, as a newly registered Raven, it'll be up to you to fight your way through the corporate subterfuge and figure out for yourself who you believe is right. As a reboot for the series, the game not only takes the story back, but the gameplay back too. With the gameplay going back to the faster paced styling of the PlayStation 1 era, while using the mechanical improvements added by Armored Core 2 and Another Age. This also marks the point that in 2009, that the series would later receive ports to the PSP and Vita, allowing the series to be played on the go, though given the PSP's more limited button facing, good luck playing through this with one stick. It's already pretty rough on the PS2 at times with how difficult the missions can get. The Vita version, however, has remappable touch buttons on the back as well as two sticks, so theoretically, playing it on that should play better. Now let's get back to the PlayStation 2's gameplay, shall we? Armored Core 3 is also a return in form of gameplay, with gameplay being faster and less stompy than Armored Core 2 and Another Age, which I personally am a great fan of, as I really do enjoy how fast-paced the PS1 games could get, especially once you got used to the controls. 3 also further increases the customization of your mechs, raising the part count to 231 parts, including retooled versions of older versions of existing parts, such as the 50% increased ammo backpack being available by perfecting a hard mission, which the ammo box when it was first introduced in Project Phantasma increased ammo by 50%, but was cut down to 20% in Master Arena, and further received nerfs in Armored Core 2, now only giving 20% to shell-based weapons, or a new part which only provides 10% to all weapon types. Speaking of, all the ammo boxes in this game are back and supporting all of your weapons instead of just one type or the other. Now, many of the old school staple powerhouses, such as the Karasawa, are now locked behind tough missions instead of being just freely available in the world. Honestly, I kinda like this. Instead of all the fun toys being locked behind different companies or just waiting to find them, you actively have to earn them. Also, the arena feature makes a triumphant return, and boy does it hide some real goodies behind its unlocked pass. I'm talking ultra high powered grenade rifles, really nice optional parts, just all sorts of neat additions. And now the arena mode is locked in kind of a reverse of Master Arena. Instead of the arena mode being a requirement to progress in the story mode, now you have to rise to a certain ranking of Raven in the story mode before you can climb your way up to the same ranking level of the arena, which I think is pretty much a good way to slow down people from power leveling their mech in the arena and then just breezing through the campaign with 10 million credits and all the good parts money can buy. The arena is also bigger than it was in Project Phantasma and Armored Core 2 at 72 opponents, but less than Master Arena's arena mode. Missions also go back to the Armored Core 1 styling, being that you side with certain corporations which will unlock or lock out other missions, but also earn different rewards for you. Speaking of, there's a lot of parts which are hidden behind unknown requirements, such as the 50% ammo box, which is unlocked by the MT training mission by not letting a single missile touch you during the 2 minutes. And this could be a very trial and error heavy mission and requires you to figure out a strategy, having some of the better missile decoy equipment, as well as preferably having the core that'll let you just destroy incoming missiles with lasers from crest. Speaking of, there's a whole lot of new part variety. Instead of say just an overboost function, some cores have a different function to their cores, such as the heavy model core having exceed orbits, which are orbital lasers that float around your mech that'll shoot at your opponent automatically. They're cool as hell, and if you disengage them for a little while, they'll replenish their ammo supply, giving you a method of attack that has unlimited ammo, which is normally only a feature of the various arm blades. Hell, those little orbiting drones will even track enemies that are out of view and try to kill them for you. Another cool feature added is a lot of the arm weapons have toggle modes. By this I mean they have 2 modes of fire, such as the bazooka for example. In default mode it fires 2 shells straight forward, but in alternative mode it fires 4 shells in a random spread, which be just good for raining death on clusters of enemies, or my preferred method of rushing down mechs in the arena and just blasting them down with double the firepower. The laser cannon's bonus function allows it to either fire decently high powered lasers with a good power consumption, or extremely powerful lasers that will also more rapidly drain power with each shot. It works really well on a weaker opponent that you just need to blitz out as quick as possible. It's nice that it doesn't say cost any additional ammo. All you have to do to use the additional mode is just press your weapon switch button. I would say triangle, but given that you can remap the keys, so maybe you're a weirdo and you have it set for start for some reason. Another change that can be seen as a positive is the retooling of Human Plus. Now, Human Plus isn't available until New Game Plus, and to unlock each of its abilities you have to complete specific missions while achieving specific goals, which will cause you to gain more of its abilities, making it more of a fair earned OP weapon, which is even reflected in its part name of OP Intensify, as it's now an optional part instead of just an innate ability of the pilot. And it definitely does a good job of rebalancing the abilities. Armored Core 3 so far is probably the best game for gameplay wise up to this point in the reviews. Keep in mind I am playing them all blind from the beginning, so I haven't played ahead. It's really taken everything they've learned from the series so far and blending it together beautifully, really balancing things well while adding and expanding on it in its own ways, such as say the new exceed orbit modes for your core instead of there being just overboost, and rebooting the story back to the beginning really lets you see the subterranean era in a new light with a new version of the events. Hell, I didn't even mention it, but the arena mode also has bonus content called Extra Arena, just like in Master Arena, but it's only accessible by beating the game, which will open up a new tag team arena mode where you pick a partner Raven and you battle your way to the top of the 2v2 setting. Overall, it's definitely the best gameplay wise so far, though I do wish the arena mode was as big as it is in Master Arena, but there's definitely a game coming up in the reviews that'll definitely scratch that itch, as there's so much content that it has 2 discs. If you know, you know, but I won't spoil it here. One last thing is there's also more missions than there was for the other games. I believe there's around 50 missions or so. And the final thing I have to mention is the emblem creator is even more user-friendly. Now even allowing you to plug in a USB mouse into your PS2 to more easily draw and make your selections. Though I'd recommend you do that on an actual PS2, because the PS3 really didn't like that too much, making it fly around a lot more sporadically. Mech painting is the same as it was in Armored Core 2, so it enjoys those additions. And another nice thing I'd like to point out is the enemy design is definitely still strong, with new takes on older bioweapons, as well as lots of armored cores. And actually, when you kill an enemy armored core in the story mode, they are removed from the arena like in 2. A few tidbits to also mention that didn't really fit too well anywhere else. There's now a consort feature for missions that allow you to bring 1 to 2 allies into a mission to fight alongside you, but if you choose to not use them, you instead get the extra money that was allocated for the hiring of consorts into your own wallet. And the final little random features, now you can drop weaponry by pressing all the shoulder buttons and triangle to drop an arm weapon or back weapon, or you can press circle at the same time instead of triangle to drop a left arm weapon. The point of this is so if you run out of ammo, you could discard the weapon, allowing you to move faster and less restricted. Now let's cover the presentation and performance, shall we? This game definitely kills it on the presentation front. The environments feel bigger than Armored Core 2, and some missions are even double missions, where you could choose to accept a request for a bonus mission for additional rewards, and they feed into each other. It's certainly a pretty game with all the customization options. Your mech can look so damn flashy and interesting. I really do like the variety and environments you see in the series, ranging from arid deserts to chilly Arctic oceans. Hell, one level takes place in a boat trapped in ice, and halfway through the mission, the water starts to crack the hull and sprays into the boats, and the creaking noises are spot on, and there's a time limit now.
Raven, the ship is starting to break up.
The sound design in this entry is just fantastic, and with the series' typically fantastic soundtrack styling, it's a blast the whole way through. Always find myself bopping along to the beats, especially in the arena mode as I duke it out in mecha on mecha violence. Hell, I didn't even mention the maps in the arena are cool as fuck, and one of them's a recreation of one of my most played maps in Master Arena, that being the parking lot stage. Another cool thing is the environment is interactable in this stage. There's a power cable that runs through part of the map, and if it's destroyed, the entire map is plunged in the darkness, making the battle even more frantic as you try to lock onto your foe or find them by the flashes of their gun. Performance-wise, it's the same as Armored Core 2, pretty smooth and stable, until you start making a whole lot of explosions or packing the enemy count up real high. Honestly, I didn't notice frame rate drops as much as in 2, but take that with a grain of salt, your mileage may vary. Now let's wrap this review up, shall we? For your money at current market rates, Armored Core 3 may be some of the best you'll get. Its gameplay is really solid, its price currently has dropped significantly back down to around $60 complete in box, and it's definitely got a lot of content to it. Its story is solid and interesting, with the rebooted setting being used to good effect. It's got some real flashy environments, rife with environmental dangers, such as a level set in a smelter, and one little slip will send your mech panicking for the thrusters for fear of being melted down in the slag. Combine everything with a nice soundtrack and you got one of the easiest games in the series to recommend. Hell, if you did want to try the PSP version, I don't know why, maybe you're crazy, but it's even cheaper, averaging less than $20 USD for a complete in-box copy. So it's a pretty accessible entry in the series, it's a whole lot of fun, and it's a good refined package. I definitely recommend you go out and buy this game if you're looking for something to scratch that mecha itch. Now before we go, I'd like to once again thank Halo for his lovely artwork. It's fantastic as usual. I'd like to thank the members and donors seen on screen for y'all's constant support, and I'd also like to thank all of y'all for supporting the content, being just watching it, liking it, subscribing, or even sharing it with friends. Now before we go, our next entry for Armored Core August shall be Armored Core Silent Line, Armored Core 3's first expansion. This has been Core, and I'll see y'all in the next review.